This is probably the hardest one in the whole series to hear, so I want to say up front, this isn't about blame. Nobody in your life is necessarily doing anything wrong. But something true needs to be said anyway. This one's harder to say. Not everyone who loves you wants you to become who you're supposed to be. Listen to that again. It doesn't mean they don't love you. It doesn't mean they're bad people, or that you should be suspicious of the people close to you. It means love, real love, and support for your growth are not automatically the same thing, even though we assume they always travel together. Not because they're bad people, because love and fear live closer together than we admit. Here's what that actually looks like in practice. Someone loves you deeply, and also, quietly, unconsciously, fears what happens to the relationship if you change, fears being left behind, fears having to change themselves, fears simply not knowing how to relate to this new version of you. That fear doesn't cancel out the love, it just sits right next to it, and sometimes it's the fear that speaks first. They loved the version of you that needed them, the version that stayed small enough to keep close. This is worth being honest about. A lot of relationships, without either person choosing it consciously, get built around a certain version of you. The one who needed rescuing, the one who needed advice, the one who could always be counted on to stay exactly where they are. When you outgrow that version, you're not just changing. You're changing the shape of the relationship itself, whether anyone intended that or not. Growth means some of that closeness has to change shape. That's not a tragedy. It's just true. Some relationships expand to hold the new version of you just fine. Others were only ever built to hold the old one, and they'll strain or shrink or quietly end no matter how much love was genuinely there. You can love someone completely and still be the reason they never left the room they were meant to outgrow. This cuts both ways, by the way. It's not only about other people holding you back. Ask yourself honestly whether you've ever done this to someone else, loved someone so much you quietly needed them to stay exactly who they were, because their growth felt like a threat to what you had together. You don't need a villain to explain why you've stayed stuck. Sometimes it's just people who love you holding on a little too tight. That's the actual takeaway here. You don't need a dramatic betrayal story to explain why change has been hard. Sometimes the explanation is simply this: people who love you, holding on in a way that feels like safety to them and feels like a ceiling to you. Naming that clearly doesn't mean cutting anyone off. It just means finally understanding what's actually been happening.